Radio Wammo Breakfast.
The Geek Show.
Time for the Geek Show with Calvin joining us over at Mohawk Studios. G'day, Calvin.
G'day, Wammo.
And today we're talking about a tool called Mindmeister, which has been getting highly topical at the moment because people have been using it to mind map current issues, including the News of the World scandal.
Yeah, this is a great one. We've been onto Mindmeister for a while. Now, I don't know if you ever used mind maps in any way, shape, or form, but some
people use them to plan projects, ideas, and whatnot for businesses. Yeah,
that's kind of where the whole mind mapping thing really originated. The idea that you just write any idea down, stick it in a circle, write other ideas around it. And start to look at your web of ideas in a graphical manner.
Yeah.
And a few applications came out that made it easy to do that. Computers are very good at rearranging little bits of text around and linking things. So it was one of those things that moved from paper into computer very nicely. And one thing that not a lot of people really predicted was how well this would translate once these were shared mind maps and multiple people could put information into them.
Yeah.
So one of the first tools that came out on the cloud that actually sort of used cloud technology and the idea of shared documents is a tool called Mindmeister.
Okay.
Mindmeister.com.
And collaboratively so that people can make sense of an issue?
Partially that it's so that lots of people, not necessarily just one person, can put the information in. And when you stick the information into a mind map like this, quite often, just because it's important bullet points and things like that, you can get a lot of information there and a lot of contextual connection between all the points. So a particularly good one is that they're doing a timeline of the News of the World scandal.
Yeah.
Starting with details from 2000 when Rebecca Brooks became editor. And the latest entry was put in on, I think, something like, July the 15th with Rebecca Brooks resigns.
Yeah, yeah.
And in between, all the shit that's happened so far. And that's been being kept reasonably well up to date whenever the authors can dive in there and do it.
So I suppose it's a way that if you did want to make sense of it yourself, you'd go along to Mindmeister and search for News of the World, come up with this mind map, and quite quickly come up with the key dates, the key ideas, the key things that happened.
Yeah, it's an incredibly useful research tool. It's so much easier to read around the same amount of information in a mind map as it would be if you were reading columns and columns of text.
Yeah.
A lot of the time when you have columns of text, an awful lot of that text is there to give context to the other text. The word text is starting to sound silly to me now.
Yeah.
Whereas with a Mindmeister, you provide context just by connecting things with a line or that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So we've started to find that when we first go to research a topic, having a look to see if anyone's done a mind map on Mindmeister has become a really good starting point, often better than Wikipedia, which is the classic cheap journo starting point for these sorts of things.
So what's another example?
Well, Google Plus. Google Plus is quite new. Lots of people want to know about it. And the Google Plus overview separates the Google Plus stuff into information about the stream, circles, hangouts, huddle, and sparks, and then breaks that down and Google Hangouts, it's got things like, it reminds me of chat roulette, but cleaner, safer, not as creepy, that sort of thing.
Okay.
So it's kind of a really good place to drop the key bits of information about a topic.
Yeah.
One of my other favorites is someone's done a mind map of the important information from the book How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie.
Oh, it's almost like a cheater's guide too. So if there was a topic and you really needed to get a crash course and get a handle on it really quickly, head along to Mindmeister.
Someone's done a mind map. Yeah. Exactly.
How to Win Friends and Influence People. I've never read it, but one of the key things in there I can see is be a leader. How to change people without giving offence or arousing resentment. And then there's a whole lot of topics under that. Begin with praise and honest appreciation. I think you're doing a great job today, Calvin. This is great.
Oh, well, thank you. Excellent. That makes up for all the money you don't pay me.
Have I won you over? Have I influenced you?
You have. You won me over with praise. You've influenced me. God, that means I should friend you on Facebook, doesn't it? Then you've won a friend.
Exactly. Okay, cool. All right.
It's almost like a new version of the Reader's Digest.
In some ways. Go check that out at mindmeister.com. Let's move on to something completely different now. You have been experimenting with digital cameras and updating the firmware and changing the way they operate.
Yeah, well, one of my favourite things, in fact, I think, I try not to speak for geeks everywhere or do that sort of thing because, I'm the only geek I can really speak for is me. But if there's one thing that when I talk to other geeks we really share, it's getting bits of equipment, especially technical equipment, to do things they were never designed to do in the first place, and to basically unleash power simply by changing software. Yeah. So there's a project around called CHDK. That's about all you have to search for on Google, I think, to get through to it. And that's the Canon Hackers Development Kit. Okay. And that was a project to take a popular range of cameras. Most of them are Canon PowerShots.
Are they point and click type cameras?
Yeah, they're all point and clicks. Yeah. And the key thing that they did with these, it's a lot of the Ixuses and the PowerShot range, is that just by changing the software, they gave them features from much more expensive cameras, right? Including the ability to have the raw files, not JPEG versions, but the actual data that's captured uncompressed. Yep. Exposure bracketing, where you take, for every time you press the shutter, it takes multiple pictures at different levels of exposure that can then be put together using software afterwards to give what's called high dynamic range photographs. Cool. Complete manual control over exposure, like expensive cameras, only now on cheap PowerShots. Yeah. That sort of thing. So that's awesome. That's out there. It's been out there for quite some time. And without that around, what I was playing with last night wouldn't exist, which is some new firmware for the Canon EOS series, specifically the ones that shoot video, like the 550D, the 5D, the 600. Yeah. The ones known as the Rebel series in the US, like the 550D here is the Rebel 2i.
Basically, the camera that, if you see even on TV these days, or a lot of YouTube videos where you get a really nice focal depth, all that kind of stuff, and really crisp HD. A lot of that is taken on these Canon 5Ds, right? Yeah, huge amounts of it. Yeah. It's hard to get across what a game changer these things are in terms of price. Yeah. To get something else that allows the use of a wide range of common lenses, that has a sensor that large as the sensors at the back of something like a 5. If we talk about the near the top of the range, the Canon 5D, yeah, that's got a 35mm full frame sensor that's larger than the sensor on a Red 1, which is a really expensive video camera, professional video camera. Yeah. It's the only thing better than it in terms of size of sensor is a Phantom 65. They're well over $100,000. It puts the pro tools in the hands of consumers. Yeah. Yeah. And the thing is, they were never designed as video cameras. The video function was an add-on. They were designed with photojournalists in mind who might want to shoot a little bit of video. So they've got a few
real problems when it comes to being good cameras for filmmakers. They've got all these brilliant features, but there's a 4 gigabyte file limit that means you can only shoot 10 minutes to 12 minutes of video at a time.
Right.
And then it stops.
Yeah.
Now, if you load on this new firmware, which is if you do a search for Magic Lantern Canon, you would get to the Magic Lantern wiki page. If you replace this firmware, which is reasonably simple, you'd simply put it on the memory card, run a little program on your computer that tells the memory card to be bootable, and then stick that memory card in your camera and turn your camera on.
Yeah.
That pretty much does it. You know, there's a couple of things to press, but it's quite simple. And in the 2 years the project's been running, there's been no reports of a camera being turned into an expensive brick.
Yeah, because that would be the, I suppose, the biggest worry for people fiddling with their new toy. But as you say, quite easy. And I've noticed people who are non-geeks being frustrated with the existing software that is on their Canon cameras and asking, is there another option out there? Can I change the software that's built in? So this is really good knowledge.
Yeah, and it just adds millions of new features. It's great.
It does. All right, we'll go along to thegeekshow.com, 2 3s rather than 2 E's. If you've got any questions for Calvin, you can always hit him up on Twitter, twitter.com/CHELFYN. Calvin, thanks very much.
Yeah, cheers.
Time now here on Kiwi is 9:51.